It's showtime. It's go time. Hey, everybody, good evening. It is a beautiful evening, and I have to say, here we are, 7 p.m. Thursday night, and it's still just a shade. You can, okay, maybe not through the window there, but you can just still see outside because there's light. That's a beautiful thing. Daylight savings time in full force. Love it. We sprung forward this past weekend, and here we are Thursday night, and I can still see plainly across the street, down the road a little bit, and I can make out the rhododendrons and the different things in my neighbor's flower bed. So to me, I'm super excited. That means it's golf time. So maybe we'll do an on-location mortgage from a treehouse from the golf course one day. We'll have to call it mortgage from the golf course, but maybe that'll happen. I don't know. Anyway, glad you're here. Glad you're taking in this message, because this, to me, I got to tell you, this to me is the most powerful message ever. Is understanding the power of real estate. That they say somewhere between 80 and 85% of all wealthy individuals in the United States are wealthy because of real estate. And so let's talk about what this huge asset is that can really help set you financially free. So we're going to talk about how that looks, what that looks like, and super excited to have this conversation, because it is, my friends, it is life-changing as far as taking that rent and turning it into something that's working for you. So let's just jump into it, shall we? Like, how powerful is real estate? Like, super powerful. Like, I skinny guy, but real estate, super powerful. Anyway, we want to take that liability that you guys have and turn it into an asset. And the liability that I'm talking about is this huge thing. It's our housing expense, right? Everybody's got to live somewhere, right? And when you have to live somewhere, you got really two options. Well, three if you still live with your parents, but you got two options. You're going to rent a place, or you're going to buy a place, right? And you're going to have a mortgage if you don't have enough money to completely pay for the house. So what does that look like? Rent is a liability. And not only is it a liability, it is a huge liability, right? So I want to contextualize this, and I want to put these numbers into play. And so here we are. We're right here in the Puget Sound, Seattle, greater Seattle area. So to go out there and rent a 2 or 3 bedroom house can easily be somewhere between $2,500 and $3,000 a month, right? So let's talk about this liability as far as the rent. $2,750 per month is $33,000 a year, right? I don't know about you, but I don't like to just burn $33,000 a year. And in a very direct way, that's what we're doing if we're renting. Renting means we're throwing our money away. Now, this same thing works when we're talking about folks that are renting at $1,500 a month, folks that are renting at $5,000 a month. If you look at what your monthly dollars will buy in relationship to real estate and how to make that happen, it's going to change the way that you live, and it'll definitely change your asset and equity base. So we're going to work with this number throughout the night. I'm going the wrong way. I'm like, hey, look at this number, because on my monitor, it's over here, but on the live, it's over here. So still learning my broadcasting 101. So thank you for bearing with me while I get through that. So $33,000 a year. What if I told you that in the very first year of a mortgage, if you had the same exact mortgage payment, 1/3 of that number would go to pay down your mortgage and build equity. So roughly $11,000 after the first year, turning that rental payment into a mortgage payment will net you $11,000 worth of equity in your house. Pretty freaking awesome. So let's keep moving. So rent returns you nothing. Mortgages return you an equity position on the real estate that you are living in, right? We all got to live somewhere. It's one of our basic needs: shelter, 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 food, and water, right? So there's this big old debate out there, and I want to give you guys my opinion how powerful I think it is. Mortgage is an asset, or is it a liability, right? If you look at your credit score, if you go to Credit Karma, where's my phone? If I log on to Credit Karma, I'm going to see my mortgage, and it's going to say, oh, it's a mortgage liability. It is one of the best ways to leverage and get into an asset class, in my opinion. Again, we're going to be spending that $33,000 a year. We might as well be getting something for it. And that's what mortgages allow you to do. It's a financial tool to help you take that upside of appreciation and be the victor, right? So moving right along, let's talk about how mortgages are an asset. Where was I? It was at a master builders meeting about 3 years ago, and I saw a gentleman give a presentation to this, and I knew this conceptually, right? I know that you go pay your mortgage balance goes down over time, the appreciation goes up like this, but he drew it out on a whiteboard, and it just blew my mind. So I wanted to share why mortgage is an asset, not a liability, right? I'm going to make this bigger so y'all can see this. So a mortgage, I'm giving a quick example of what a mortgage is. The green line is the appreciation line. The purple line is your mortgage balance line. And this is the first 10 years of home ownership, right? So you go out there, you find a house at $600,000, you put 10% down. We're not putting down 20%. Money's still cheap. You can put that other $60,000 somewhere else into a different vehicle to make you money in a different way. But we're into a house, right? So as you can see right here, $600,000 purchase price, $540,000 loan amount with a 10% down payment. So this appreciation, as you can tell up here, it's a 5% appreciation per year. So this house in the first year gains $30,000. The second year, it gains $31,000. The next year, it gains another $33,000 and so forth. And see, watch how your mortgage balance goes down and down and down. And every year, just if appreciation was flat as a fritter, right? Flat as a fritter appreciation, there's no appreciation going on. You're still gaining an equity position of roughly $13,000 a year just by paying down your mortgage. And it gets bigger and bigger and bigger as we go longer into that mortgage, because mortgage interest is front loaded, right? So you pay the majority of the interest through the first about 12 to 15 years of a 30-year fix, the first half of the 30-year fix. And then long about year 11, you flip the amortization schedule where you're actually putting more principal into the transaction than you are paying interest on the transaction. So your mortgage balance tails off like this and really steeply declines and goes down over the 30 years as the appreciation goes up. It's a pretty powerful thing. So after 10 years, if we buy event number one is the purchase, and then after 10 years of living in this house, your appreciation gets you into an asset that is now $977,000 with a mortgage balance of $412,000. If you did nothing other than live there and pay your mortgage. Can we just check in with that really quick? That's awesome, right? So you're telling me for nothing other than living in my house, taking care of my house, paying my mortgage, because I got to live somewhere. I'd be spending this money somewhere, right? After 10 years, if we kept 5% appreciation in the world and I just paid my mortgage, I'm going to have roughly $550,000 worth of equity. Right here, this delta between 977 and 412, I would have $500,000 worth of equity. And yes, that's what I'm telling you. That is the power of real estate. Now, I'm sure there's a bunch of naysayers out there that are gonna be like, well, Keith, that's not how the market works. The market's gonna take a dump. We're in a bubble. We're doing this. We're doing that. Blah blah blah. So okay, let's give an example that's maybe not so sunny, right? So here's number two. Okay, well let's go ahead and take a look at option number two. So I put in here, you see, oh wow, we got some great appreciation in the first 2 years. We're gaining 5%, and then all of a sudden in year 4, we lose 10% of our equity. We lose 10% of our equity. So that comes down to $595, right? And then again in year 5, we lose another 5%, and then we get back on a track of 3, and then 5, and we get back on the track of 5%, right? So we have a little stumble in the blocks. Okay, I get it. So again, our balance after that 10 years of paying our mortgage is $412,000. But guess what? We still have a net value or appreciated value of our house now at $708. So instead of it's not that $500,000 worth of equity, it's now just south of $300,000 worth of equity for nothing other for 10 years living in a place, right? Living in a house. So that, my friends, is the power of real estate. That is why I am so passionate about sharing these numbers and sharing the power of this asset with people. This asset can then be, you could do a lot of stuff with it. Folks, at this point, at $300,000 worth of equity, we help people every day of the week saying, hey, I'm going to sell this house and go buy my next house. I'm going to sell this house and I'm going to go buy a smaller house and 2 rental properties. This gives you leverage, it gives you capital to continue to expand that model and continue to take advantage of what that looks like as far as this appreciation schedule. Becoming an investor. It's an amazingly powerful thing, real estate. And mortgages are the tool, the financial tool to get you there. So super awesome, super powerful. And let's jump into the numbers a little bit. Let's call in the coach and look at what these numbers look like from a practical standpoint. So this is a mortgage illustration that anybody that came to me today and saying, hey, Keith, I want to buy my first house. I want to buy this. I want to buy this. We would do an in-depth analysis for you and pull up a mortgage coach. And here we go. The coach is in session here. The power of real estate. You know, your name here, right there. Your name here. So let's take a look at it. I, true to form, put in exactly what we were talking about. We got a rent versus $600,000 purchase, right? Over here, we're renting at $2,750 a month. And over here, we're going to buy a $600,000 house with 10% down. So let's take a look at this. Purchase price, $600,000, down payment, $60,000, loan amount, $540,000. Interest rate, this is today's rate. I quoted this today. I'm assuming a 740 credit score, 10% down, single family residence, right? So 3.125 on a 30-year fixed. Look at this payment. Look at this payment. Everybody's like, oh my gosh, buying a house is so expensive. It's actually $200 more expensive a month. I can't believe that. But let's take a look at these numbers a little deeper. What is this down here? It says net monthly payment. What does that mean, net monthly payment? Anybody want to take a guess? Anybody want to type it in there? Anybody? Okay, I'll tell you what it means. You remember how I mentioned that when you pay a mortgage, you're paying principal and interest, right? So this $2,300 a month right here for the principal and interest of your mortgage, the principal side, guess what, guys? That's yours. That's your money. That's your money. You get to take that equity position in your house. So that's what we say is a net. You're not paying a landlord that additional. You're paying yourself. You're gaining that equity position in your house, which is why it's so awesome, because you got to live somewhere, right? So $2,300, $2,313, and then I put property taxes, hazard insurance, and mortgage insurance. Again, let's talk mortgage insurance. I broke out my shirt, 4 weeks ago. Mortgage insurance, again, with a 740 credit score, single family residence, 10% down. It's $94 a month to get into this house for mortgage insurance, because we didn't have the other $60,000 to get out of mortgage insurance. It's going to cost you $94 a month, right? It's going to cost you about just a little over $1,000 a year to have the opportunity to A, pay down a mortgage and not waste money on renting, B, get the appreciation on a house, and C, get to paint the walls and have whatever pet you want in your house, because you don't have no landlord to be telling you what you can and can't do with your house. So that altogether is super, super invigorating for me. So I hope it's as invigorating for you. And this is where it comes down to payments, escrow, and then investment payments. I don't have a payment breakdown there. So this $719 of net monthly savings in payment number one, that is the amount of principal that you're paying down, $713. So again, not to sound like a broken record, you're paying down the balance of your mortgage. You're gaining equity in that respect. If appreciation's flat, if appreciation is anything up, down, you're still gaining position on paying down that mortgage. So super, super powerful stuff. Love sharing this. So let's scroll down a little bit more. Let's talk about net monthly payment. We did that. That's $719 is going to pay down your principal balance. But let's look at this. Over the next 10 years of owning that house, you would have had paid $330,000. Whoa. $330,000 to a landlord to make somebody else equity rich in a property. I want that to land a little bit, because that is what we're all doing when we're renting. When we're renting, we're paying somebody else's equity position, because guess what? They have a mortgage payment right up here. They have the same well, maybe not the same $2,900 payment, but they have a payment. And at least a third of that payment is going to pay down their principal balance and give them an equity position in that house. Why isn't it you? It should be you. I think it should be you. I think it should be you. I want it to be you. So that's super important. So in flip to that, you will have paid down your mortgage $127,000 in the first 10 years. $127,000 off the top. Right? So now that equity is yours. Whatever equity gain you had in the appreciation, you also have the pay down gain in how much you've paid down the principal balance of your property. Super awesome, super powerful. And then finally, let's just say, okay, hey, I'm going to run this 30-year mortgage out the whole way. I'm going to take a look at it, and look at this. Lo and behold, you will have paid off the mortgage. So all the principal has been paid back. And you will have paid almost $1 million if you rented for the next year. You would have paid almost $1 million. You got nothing for it. Zero to show for that. So what you get to show for this is a house that is appreciated and a house that's now paid off, right? So now that it's something expense-wise, you can take off your balance sheet completely should you choose not to leverage and continue to acquire property. But I wanted to share that with you, because still one of the most powerful financial tools I've ever found is owning where you live. There's a lot of static out there. There's a lot of people that want you to go rent something and then give them your money so they can go buy real estate, which I find kind of ironic, but I'm going to leave it at that for all you GC followers. I'll leave that there. But it's such a powerful tool that I wanted to share with you guys, because it's life-changing. It absolutely 110% is life-changing. So let me bring back up the presentation here and keep moving. If you guys have any questions, let me know. I just want everybody to know that when we engage with our clients and they want to see what the numbers are, we're clear with them. We give them this mortgage illustration so they understand the numbers, because once you see the numbers in front of you, once you understand that your real estate dreams are attainable and achievable with a plan, and then you see the numbers behind it to get there, you're like, oh wow, why haven't I been doing this before? There's a darn, I missed the boat, but you haven't. Now's a good time. Now's good of any time to get into the real estate market because of this next slide. But we're in a bubble. I want to, I jest with this, but this is one of the most unbased concerns that I address every day, and I want to address it today. Is there a bubble in the real estate market? And let's talk about it, because guess what? I do not believe it. No, there's no, the housing market's not falling. So let's talk the economics about it. I've hinted about these economics a little bit in prior shows, and I wanted to circle back and show you the resources, show you the websites, and let you guys see the data set and what makes me super excited that I'm investing my family's disposable income into more real estate and why that's powerful. So let me change out of this really quick. I'm going to go back into, I want to go to that one. So there's our coach. Coach is good. So let's talk about housing prices. Housing prices. I'm going to make this big so everybody can see it. The only major depreciating event that has ever happened in the last 50 years. In the last 50 years, there's only been one major depreciating event. One. That's it. And it's the mortgage meltdown. Mortgage meltdown of 2007 was astronomically bad for the economy. Now, let's understand what happened in 2007. Be very, very clear of what happened in 2007. 2007 was a culmination of about a half dozen years of really, really, really poor lending practices, okay? Lending practices such as no income, no asset verified, right? You tell me what your income is, you tell me what assets you have, I'll put it on the application. And if you got the credit score, you get a house, right? These people didn't have the wherewithal to be in that house. We had crazy mortgage products. We had interest only. We had negative amortization arms that you didn't pay the full interest that was accruing on your mortgage every month, right? So it was like jacking up a credit card, and you would get $400 worth of interest that accrue on the credit card, but you only paid $100 worth of the interest at the next month's payment, right? So now all of a sudden your credit card balance is an extra $300 more expensive, and then the next month it's another $330 more expensive, and so on and so on. So there was a half dozen years of very poor lending practices that happened that led up to the demise in 2007. Telling you point blank, if you've gone through a mortgage lately, you know that there's no liar loans out there. We leave no stone unturned. You're going to document that income. You're going to document those assets. You're going to make sure you tell us where they've come from. You're going to make sure that if you missed a day at work, I exaggerate on that one. If you missed a day at work, you're going to tell us where you were, what you were doing. Were you calling in hooky? Were you out fishing on the river? Were you doing something else? I don't know. But when it comes to the integrity of income, assets, and credit right now, I don't remember in my 23, 24 years of doing this, I don't remember any time that's been more stringent, except right after the mortgage meltdown, right? In 2009, we just said, we're not going to lend any money because we don't know where anything's going, right? So long story short, for the last 50 years, there's been one event, and one event was the culmination of 6 years of bad decisions. So I do not see, from a lending standpoint, this graph dipping back down. Another thing that I wanted to talk about is household income, right? Everybody says, hey, look at this. Prices are going through the roof. Prices are going through the roof. This line's going up too fast. And then, oh, well, look, let me back up really quick. This is Fred. Fred is my friend. Fred should be your friend if you want to get statistically geeking out. If you want to geek out like none other with statistics, go to Fred. It's the Federal Reserve Economic Database. Awesome stuff. You want to type in something and figure out what the Federal Reserve's been tracking? You can do it. Gosh, I keep pointing the wrong way. You can do it. It's right here, Fred. So Fred should be your friend if you're going to make any economic decision, quite frankly, because the data's in here. It's crazy cool. So guess what? I wanted to say, hey, what does the United States median income look like? How does that graph work? Have median incomes been flat like they've been saying, or does the curve look equal to or as steep as the appreciation curve in the sales prices? Guys, we're doing pretty good. We're doing pretty good as far as incomes, right? And so the median household income for the United States, so this is all states included, was $68,000 a year. Now look at household incomes for Washington, right? We kicked that up to $82,000 a year. If you look at King County specifically, where I'm at right now, if you look at King County specifically, that number gets up to $90,000 a year. So prices will continue to be supported so long as there's demand. And demand is there because they have lending, right? So people are still able to qualify from a debt to income ratio standpoint. Trust me, I see them every day come to me. They think they don't. And for all the self-eliminators out there, I urge you, please, go out and have a conversation. I'd love to have the conversation with you. DM me, ping me, do whatever you need to do to get a hold of me, call me. Keith Pitch, I'm all over the place on the internet. But there's a lot of self-eliminators that say, hey, I can't get into housing because it's going to be too expensive. If you're paying that $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 a month in rent, you owe it to yourself to have a conversation. Conversations are free. We don't charge for them. We can let you know what you're capable of doing, and you may be surprised. So prices have only gone down once in a major meltdown, 2007. Income is continuing to go up. So, well, do people have the down payments? Savings, household savings is like all-time highs. It's a little bit flat coming into 2019, but we're saving more money as a nation than we have in a very long time. 2012 was the last time that we were close to this number, right? So income, oops, here. What do we look at in mortgages? We look at income and assets and the collateral. They all, to me, from economic indicators, seem to be doing pretty darn good. And with this number, the real median, or well, not this one, all transactions, housing prices, the other key indicator that I've looked at, that I've studied, that I've listened to other economists talk about is supply and demand, right? Supply and demand is what's running this whole show. Demand's high, supply's low, price has got to go up. I mean, we still have not seen any fundamentals break from that. And we're right in the middle of that. And here's my take on why. Again, going back to Fred. Fred's my friend. Nope, not that one. There we go. I'll find the right tool. I think it's this one. Yeah. Housing units, housing starts, guys. Talk about demand. That's everybody that wants to buy a house. What's our supply? Housing units, right? Housing units. And how do housing units look, right? So we see ups and downs. We see peaks and valleys. Right? So we go back to the 70s. It troughed out in the early 70s. Housing's peaked out there about this is a pace of 2.4 million units a year. And then all of a sudden we fall back down. Then we build back up and we fall back down into an economic depression in the 80s. That's the savings and loan. Thank you very much. Then we go up and then we fall back down. Then we go back up and then we fall back down, right? So here we go. We fell back down and we stayed down, right? The NAHB, the National Association of Home Builders, says that we need to be building at least 1.1 million units a year to be staying up with our population growth, right? So if we look at these numbers down here, we're building 500,000 housing units a year. We're building 500,000 housing units for the better part of 5 years. We're under the 1.1 million units for the better part. We don't recover that number until April of 20, is Is it April? June. We don't recover that number until June of 2015. So from 2007, when we fell off the cliff in the mortgage meltdown, to 2015, almost 10 years, we are in a big deficit as far as new housing starts are concerned. So this is why the inventory issues that you're hearing about very much locally in the Puget Sound are playing out across the United States. It's not just a Puget Sound situation. It's a United States situation. We didn't build enough units. We didn't build enough units for the better part of almost 10 years. And now we're paying for it in the supply-demand curve. The supply is super low because we didn't build enough. Demand super high because people are still stable enough, even through COVID, to go out there and buy. And actually, COVID has been spurring people more. And this is my COVID wave too, as far as new home buyers. Companies are coming back to their employees now and saying, hey, you know what? We've been doing this for a year. We feel good that you guys are doing a great job from your house. Why don't you guys just stay out? What? You guys just stay at home. We're going to get rid of this lease in this big old high rise downtown in Seattle because it's costing us like $1 million a year to have this office space. So why don't you guys just stay home and you guys are good to go? So now people are like, oh, great. I don't have to live here. I can go somewhere else. And so that's rearranging a couple of things. I'm really curious to see how things around major metropolitan areas will continue to progress. But long story short, the reason why our inventory is so low is because we didn't build enough housing units for 10 years. So supply demand tells me we're not going anywhere. The other thing is the bubble. If we were in a bubble, we're really well positioned for a bubble in the United States of America now. Here we are. This is one of my favorite graphs that I like to share with homeowners. I like to share with this is my bubble burster. Back in the mortgage meltdown leading up to that, there was roughly about 40% of all mortgages had over 80% leverage on their house, right? The mortgages had 80% or higher loan to values. This is what we look like today. This is Q3 and Q4 of 2020 in the equity positions. The super majority of all houses have mortgages at or below 80% loan to value. That's awesome. That's powerful. These people right here, these people have some major equity position. They have a major asset because they're playing the game, right? I do want to speak to this. People are like, oh my God, 125, who are these folks over here on the far right? More than likely, where this number is being derived from is reverse mortgages, because reverse mortgages are negative amortization, and they're a great tool for seniors that want to stay in their houses. So before you go all off the deep end about reverse mortgages and how bad they are, have a talk with a mortgage professional and figure out what they really do for folks that no longer qualify but could take advantage of an asset and stay in home. Such a powerful tool. Again, utilizing mortgages to live your life to the fullest. So super awesome tools there. And wait. Oh, well, sorry, I've already jumped through that. What about the incomes? The incomes are doing good. So here we are. I did go 3 minutes over. Long story short, it's a great time to buy. Mortgages, interest rates are still low. Mortgages are available for those that have the income, those that have the assets, and those that have the credit to buy. And I definitely invite you guys to have a conversation with your local mortgage professional. Myself, DM me, let me know, Mortgage from a Treehouse. Share this with any of your naysayers out there. I'd love to engage them in the conversation on where the housing market is, where the housing market is going, and help you and your friends buy your next house. So that is the power of real estate. Wanted to share it with everybody because it changes lives. It's changed my life to be a homeowner. It's changed the thousands of mortgage customers that I've helped and become friends with, and it's changed their financial picture fundamentally. So I invite you to have that conversation. And I also invite you to next week. Next week is where we take it to the next level. Next week, we are going to start talking about one of the biggest hindrances, in my opinion, of the market right now. We have a lot of folks that want to sell their home and go buy another one, but they're stopping themselves. And here's why they're stopping themselves. They're saying, oh my gosh, the market is so hot. If I sell my house, I don't have another place to go. So how am I going to get there? I don't want to move twice. I got a ton of equity, because in that slide that we showed you already, that the majority of Americans, the super majority of Americans, have at least 20% equity. A lot of Americans have 40% equity or more, right? So we're going to talk about strategic plans for you. If you're looking to, maybe you're still in your starter house, maybe you're in that middle house and the kids are no longer 3 and 5, maybe the kids are now 12 and 14 and you want some more space. We can help with that. We're going to talk about that transition lending between buying a new house, transitioning into that new house, and keeping your old house. Keeping your old house is the key. And so we'll jump into those numbers. We'll jump into how that transition looks, and what is another powerful layer to real estate and leverage. So look forward to talking to you guys next week. Have a great week and weekend. If you have any questions, put it in the comments, share, like, and comment, and we'll talk to you next week on Mortgage from a Treehouse. Have a great evening.